One thing that I think is we've lost, and I've sort of been, it's not really, once it's not really impacted, one thing we lost is pride in the work. In the Victorian era, part of the world, there were the great exhibitions, and there was this pride in achievement. All right, we now know there were impacts associated with that. One of the problems with impact assessment is that word impact, which generally has negative connotations. To actually find anything nowadays which actually says we are justifiably proud of what we're doing, which is something we have to tie into sustainable development. Shame on you, Angus. Go back with your students. Get them actually to read Teddy Roosevelt. We are justly proud of our achievements, but what are we going to do when the oil runs out, when the forests have all been cut down, and the rivers have run all the soil to the sea?
Okay. But what you say, best practice. I think next year we are not having papers about very basic scope, but best practice scoping, innovative scoping, because otherwise it's not helping us. Yeah. So we should be very critical in allowing papers to be included in these sessions. Otherwise they don't help us.
This year.
That, of course, is what I was just about to say, that the common theme, if I could be so heroic as to identify it, the common theme I thought was about the professional practice and how these ideas actually get used when you folks go out and do impact assessment, have consultants do impact assessments, review impact assessments, or implement them. And I think that whatever we end up doing next year really needs to be focused on influencing and especially improving the state of the art of impact assessment. And in that sense, I have some personal biases, but about which of these topics might best be focused on next year. But rather than elaborate on those now, because I'm only one person in the room, I wanted to tell a brief story about 14,000 page EISs. I think that I was once a physicist, or maybe I still am. I know in 1913 in the Journal of Physical Review there is a paper by Niels Bohr. And it is 10 pages long, and it is the basis for his Nobel Prize. Right next to it is a paper that is 40 pages long on the same subject by an author whose name we have all long since forgotten. Moral of the story is I wrote a 20-page paper because I didn't have time to write a 10-page paper.
Thank you. I have tried to listen to all the comments and also link it to the one page that I didn't give justice to in terms of what comes from the literature, in terms of significance issues that need to be addressed. And the one issue that is on the slide is connecting practitioners with state-of-the-art classical thinking. Because everybody goes back to Dainker and some of the old Fero documents. All of the literature quotes them and go back to them. But then the question has been asked, in line with Fukushima and other events, have we not missed an opportunity to learn? And this is what I think perhaps the orphan is to what can we learn, what value can we add to those classical learnings, and then certainly building bridges between the classics and current generation of practitioners. I've clearly heard you, ma'am. I think that is quite a useful comment, and I also lament the loss of those learning opportunities as an educator myself. And I think perhaps there's an orphanage for us. Do we really have the time? And I also attended the whole system on mentoring. Do we really have the time to take it slow, 2 weeks, which is not really that slow, to actually learn the fundamentals? So basically, the whole issue is yes, go back to the classics, but also ponder about what have we missed along the way in our haste to get those fact documents out that you prefer to say.
I'd like to give a sort of advertisement, I suppose, and then make a comment.
The advertisement is this, that Francois and I are the editors of Impact Assessment and Project Appraisal Journal, the journal of IAIA, and we have a section there called Professional Practice, and we love professional practice papers because the last thing, well, we kind of like theory papers too because we're academics, we have to, but secretly we love the professional practice ones. And this is picking up at your point that all of us on this table actually have actively promoted the publication of practitioner stories. For example, Jos and I did our book in 2004 and the special edition of IAPA in 2005 we were editors of both those products. Well, I shouldn't say this in public, but we did a bit of ghostwriting because we needed the stories from the practitioners, but they weren't necessarily writers. So we did a bit of the story writing for them. That's the job of an editor. And in a way, Francois and I do that as editors of the journal now. We beg you as practitioners to send us your stories, and we help as best as we can to make them into a work that will be published so that all can read it. All members of IA have free access to all issues of IAPA Journal. That's one of the most glorious things about our association. We share our stories. And the stories we share via a PowerPoint slide, and when we're all jet lagged, pretty much fuzz and fade away. Not everybody puts their paper into the conference proceedings, which I also was instrumental in setting up, incidentally. And not that I'm showing off, but I'm just saying I'm passionate about it. And the journal is there, and so please send us your stories. That's the advert, and we're here to help. My last comment then is, well, it's a reflective one. Why do we come to these international conferences, and what do we get from them? What I love about them is that I step away from my day-to-day job and all the minutiae and administration, and I get to look at the big picture. I get to step back and what is impact assessment all about? And isn't that what we did today? And of course I've made very valuable connections with other people and realise that other people around the world share our issues and stories. And that's fantastic. And I just want to thank you for your sharing of your stories and the issues you raised, because I've really enjoyed this session.
Okay. And yeah, very shortly, because time is running, and I want Foster Parents.
I'm going to mention to you that there are two things that we need to remember, and that is that my work in the UN tells me that the people I'm working for say, why are all these references so old? And I say, that's when all the solid work was done. Now, please, Charlotte or anybody else in the room, can you help me emphasize the point that you're about to be swept up into a maelstrom called safeguards. And the UN has a huge project now to pull together environmental assessment, risk assessment, technical assessment, every assessment, to make sense of all this for all these UN agencies. Working for the FAO, I see these people being pulled into the black hole, and I'm doing all the paper review in Vancouver. I'm saying, what the hell's going on? Watch this carefully, Joe. Okay. Safeguards. Anybody in the room know anything about safeguards?
Yeah, it's called SIA. Safeguarding Impact Assessment.
Okay.
Talk to Charlotte.
Okay.
One point person.
We do it after this session. But now I really want, at least for the next conference, that we not only talk once here nice, because then this session is an orphan, eh? We shouldn't do that. We should follow up on this. And we should now do some screening, which are the most important things. We do some scoping, what to do next year. And yes, it should be linked also, and that could be called tiering. So then all the words are back. So screening, who is willing to do next year, is interested in this issue and want to do something? Is there someone who is really, okay, take up the challenge. Take up the challenge. Okay, Paul, practitioner with Francois, I really want to do it this way. We can try to get it in the program next year. There is not a section, but a session about this issue of screening. And we will make sure that what's been said here, it should be ambitious. We should have the best practice here and think if we can improve also theory about this, the concepts, and so we get on a higher level on screening. So the next one, scoping. Who is willing to do something around scoping?
I'm not going to be point man, but I'll try and help here. But you really have to have some criteria.
You are a foster parent or not? You are a foster parent, I hear. Yes. Together with Bill, perhaps? Or someone else? Someone else. Who is? Oh, you're suddenly looking away, eh? It's classic. But where is this boy? He was really having lots of trouble, eh? Oh, here he is. Cheer, you can't do that.
Remember,
Press your heart.
scoping is sexy. That could be the name of the title of the session.
So who is willing to do something with scoping? Alan?
I'm going to help somewhat too.
Somewhat.
Something is a very vague thing to commit to.
Okay, we have to deal with somewhat foster
But I need
parents.
somewhere in there.
Okay, we have his foster parents, but we will remind you in the follow-up of this.
Can I just say the concept of sexy orphans is a little bit difficult to
Thanks a lot for
Again, I'm just
no. We are aware of that. We are aware of that. Yeah. Significance. Who is thinking? There were lots of discussions about significance here.
I'll partner with somebody.
Oh, you partner with somebody. That's good. John Boyle.
Are you one for two, John?
This is great. This is really partnering and then creating new relationships here to really do something and help.
There's more.
There's more. Okay. Yes.
Significance.
Okay. Then of course the silent boy.
Even more hands. This should be called in. I saw more hands there.
Yeah. And can you come to Johan afterwards?
They're all pointing in the same direction.
You are okay with that? Yeah. Okay, that's great. Cheering, who is going into tears here? Yes, there is someone. What's your name?
David, I believe.
Oh yeah, David. We will have a discussion afterwards.
Yeah, I want to do something with that.
Okay, and Angus, that's very good. Who's not
As long as it gets me
Are you
out
taking
of
notes of this? Are you taking notes of this? Yeah, okay, thanks. And at least the last one we have to do, because it was presented here, follow up. Who is going into follow up? Yeah.
Oh, we're going to
Try. Yeah.
How about
Okay, that's good. Who more?
You don't have any women in here, maybe a couple of women. Let's get this.
Luis is also going into follow up. That's very good. And the ladies, yes, there are mothers needed. Yes, Marta, I think you are into follow up. That's great. Actually, this is great to do. To get new programming here actively done and not by a program committee. And yeah, there were raised other issues. Do we feel also we want next year something about agriculture's fisheries?
Just carry the message. We've got to get that section beat.
Okay.
Forget it, that's okay. You may want to look at safeguards, but that's a solution.
But we've got a dilemma. Is it SEA or SIA?
So,
You're in the wrong track.
May I recommend adoption of a non-disclosed orphan, EMPs, and ask my neighbour colleagues from Mozambique to volunteer to take them up.
We could include it in the follow-up family.
I think we probably need to. I think there's already enough sessions going on in this conference. So I think follow-up should perhaps be
Inclusive.
and we should just scope it adequately.
With partnerships also, yeah.
Like to think
You want to make some?
Okay. Yes? A plea.
As these sessions are developed, to try to make them most useful for everybody across the board, including practitioners of some of these other acronyms, not just to focus on environmental impact assessment, but really look at screening.
Oh yeah, of course.
Across the board.
You're right. But that's just because we were historical conscious. It started with NEPA if we don't want or not. That was the beginning. And what we were talking here is actually about institutional memory, creating institutional memory. That's a big issue of IAEA. If we're not careful, we are just surplus on the same level. If you want to really build up, that's what we hope we can start. And it would be nice if the titles next year will be very clear that there's something in of, yes, screening or scoping, but also something of best practice, innovation, the quality we are looking for. And it should be also inclusive for practice. I think that's also what has been said here with academic reflection in it. So most likely we need sessions with papers and discussion. And that's for the next program committee. I perhaps already a plea then to be inclusive. So that's for now. I'm looking at Francois. Do you have anything?
No.
The orphanage is empty. All the foster parents are there, and if the foster parents can come here, we can make practical arrangements. Thanks a lot for being here. And